Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today. My name is Corey Cole. I am the owner and founder of The Rugged Company and mansmentalhealth.com. Today I am here with a good friend of mine, Jim. Jim, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Jim Treach, and I'm co-owner of Revolt CBD. We're a retail online CBD store, and we ship all over the country. I met up with Corey a few years back during the COVID pandemic, and he was supplying hand sanitizers for us, which ended up being a really good product. And since then, I've started using him for quite a few things, from packaging to manufacturing, and we've struck up a friendship.
Absolutely. Super excited about it. Well, today we're getting together because today's World Mental Health Day. I mean, it's something that you and I are both passionate about. If you have followed us for any length of time, you will see, I believe both of us have posted a lot about mental health. I have been on quite the mental health journey myself over the last couple of years, and we just wanted to bring some awareness and talk about some things specifically towards men, but this goes towards anyone that is struggling with mental health.
Yeah, on Revolt, I've definitely been posting quite a bit about anxiety, and I've actually learned a lot about mental health since I got into the CBD world. I was a firefighter for 24 years and dealt with a lot of PTSD, and we've seen several serious runs, and I'd have to talk with my guys about it and stuff, but I never really thought of it as mental health. Now that I'm dealing with customers all the time instead of subordinates or team members, I'm finding out that there is a lot of different mental health issues out there. Social anxiety, PTSD, even different types of eating disorders is considered mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know you probably know a whole lot more about the mental health side than I do, but I've been reading up on stats, and they said since 2019, since the COVID pandemic come in, 20% of Americans are dealing with some sort of mental health issue.
Yeah, 52.9 people in the U.S. That's 1 in every 5 adults.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, and that's 21% of U.S. adults experienced mental health in 2020. 5.6% of U.S. adults experienced serious mental health in 2020, and that represents. So the difference is some type of mental health illness is 21%. 5.6% is serious mental health. I don't know how they tell that apart. I think all mental health is serious, but this represents 1 in 20 adults. And then here's the stat that is troubling for me: is 16.5% of U.S. youth age 6 to 17 experience mental health disorder, which is 7.7 million people. I can tell you that has gone up tremendously. Obviously our kids didn't used to experience that. Right. I would say even in my experience, in my youth, I don't know that I was aware of what I experienced from mental health issues. I grew up in a pretty rough life and had a pretty rough upbringing, but as a child, I don't know that I knew that that's what I was going through. Definitely didn't know that that's what I was going through. Yeah. But this is something that, like I said, over the last couple of years, I've become pretty passionate about with my own mental health journey. I went on a trip that was supposed to be a trip of a lifetime with some friends up to the Boundary Waters near Canada, that every guy, I think most avid outdoor guys dream of going on those trips with their buddies. Yeah. And, it turned up to be a disaster for me. I had to be lifelined out on a plane to the hospital, and they had to put 6 fluids of IV in me. I had a heat stroke and dehydration and not being prepared for the weather change. It's something we've never done before, but also, it's something that I never thought I would experience a panic attack. I've never experienced that before that. And that to me was new. And, it's something where my body just wouldn't stop shaking, and I was constant mode of fight or flight. And I finally got to the point to where I honestly felt like I was not going to see my wife and daughters. I did not think I was going to make it out of there. And so that's really what caused me to hit the SOS button on my satellite phone. Mm-hmm. And when they finally got to me, which was several hours later, I had to wait through the night and to the next morning for them to get me. When I got to the hospital, I felt relief when the doctor told me that I made the right call. I didn't want to be that guy.
Right.
I didn't want to be that guy that had to get lifelined out. Like, I was going to be the story. Oh, this fool went up there not prepared. Now, keep in mind, I'm an avid outdoorsman. I do a lot of hunting, a lot of camping, a lot of hiking and trekking. And so I felt I was prepared. I was physically prepared and mentally prepared. But that's something I've never thought I would ever experience. And I truly felt I was going to die that night, and I was not ever going to see my wife and daughters again. And that was the turning point for me. But I think what helped a little bit was the fact that the doctor said I made the right call, because my body would not have been able to recuperate the amount of water that I had lost in my body. But I thought, once I got home, I would be fine. Mm-hmm. I wasn't. I spent 3 months bedridden, Jim, not knowing what to do. My wife had to quit her job because she had to be with me 24 hours a day. I couldn't be left alone. It got to the point to where I asked my wife to put me in a facility and to sign divorce papers, because I didn't want her to have to deal with what I was going through. And I wanted her to move on with her life, and I didn't want my daughters to have to see what I was having to go through. I wanted her to put me in a padded room so they'd lock me up and put me on medication and forget about me. And I'm so grateful she didn't, because I'm on the other side of it. There's good days and bad days, but,
Well, and we're glad you've done that. There's most men, as you know, there's a stigma to men. We don't want to be that guy. We don't want to open up and talk to people. We'd rather keep everything inside, and we feel like we are protecting everybody else around us by keeping it inside.
And we were raised that way.
There's so many people end up committing suicide, and that's the reason why. The man thinks that they are taking all that pain with them, mm-hmm. but you're not. You're actually passing that pain on to your friends and family.
Yeah, absolutely. And the statistic that I seen recently was that men are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than women. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that women don't have, battles that they're facing either. We're not saying that at all. This is something where, we can speak on what we know, and what we know is men's mental health. So, 3 times more likely, what was it? The statistic that I saw, 6 million men are affected by mental health, some type of mental health issue. And it's something that, when you're having these thoughts and feelings inside where you just don't know that you can keep going, or, I'm only here because my family's here, that's mental health issues. That's things that we're told to not talk about, dig a hole and put them inside of it and never bring them up again, because society's told us not to talk about it, right? But that's not the case. And I can tell you, I was one of those people that I thought counseling and therapists were a joke. And it hurt my wife's feelings a lot. My wife is an addictions counselor by trade. Psychology and addictions counseling is what she went to school for. And I always said, I'm paying them money. They're going to tell me what I want to hear. Right. But in reality, that's so much further from the truth, because when I finally sat down with the counselor, I had 20 years of weight lifted off my shoulder. I told that man things I had never talked about, things my wife has never heard. And it was the most freeing thing I've ever experienced when it comes to just the insides, the things that I felt lifted off my shoulders. What with your days in the fire department, and some of these calls that you guys go on are a tragedy, man. And you don't, it's not that you didn't get there in time. It's just that things develop faster than people thought, or whatever the case may be. Over your years, what's some of the things that, as far as helping your guys get through that, or seeing your guys go through that, what's some of the things that you saw with your guys after calls like that?
There's a couple different types of mental illness I see come from that, and they say it's PTSD for us in the fire service with the things we're seeing. One is, that single call that's just so bad that, it affects you for the rest of your life. And it's that one call, it's one time it happens, and boom, you're dealing with something, whether it's you lose a firefighter, or you respond on a family member that you can't save. Those kind of things can hit you hard and fast. Mm-hmm. The other type is build up over years, lots of little bitty runs through the years of small tragedies, and they don't affect you. Right? They just don't affect you. They don't affect you. You keep going. And all of a sudden, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, all these things have built up, and it just pours out, and you all of a sudden you can't handle it anymore. Mm-hmm. I've seen guys retire because of that. Because through the years it just kept building up, and at one point they're like, man, I can't go on another EMS run.
Right.
I'm done with it. I just can't do it. And the thing that us firefighters do, and probably most people in public safety, is we do laugh and joke about things quite a bit. The public would probably be shocked to hear some of the things we say, but it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
It's not that we're making fun of anybody. That's how we deal with it, and that probably handles 80-90% of different mental health issues with it.
At the surface.
At the
right.
surface.
At the
right.
surface. And we see in public service, there's not a lot of mental health services.
Right.
There's not. I was at a conference a few weeks ago, and the chief of police for Fishers was there, and talking about the average person goes through 1 to 3 traumatic situations in their lifetime. Mm-hmm. A public servant has 180, and on average 180 traumatic instances that they go through in their 20-year career. And people wonder why the mental health of our law enforcement officers, our EMS, our firefighters is a struggle for these guys, especially for these career men and women, that are in it for years and years. And so that's something that's in its own world. The public safety men and women that are serving, they almost need a voice.
Right.
But it's something where you and I have been on this other side of it for a while now, and we're into, yes, I'm a skincare manufacturer, but that's self-care. It's all wrapped into self-care. With the CBD stuff, we've been hearing over the years about what it can do, and a lot of people call it the snake oil and all this other stuff. But I would say you and I both have experienced, and this is not just selling the brand. This is not just selling, Revolt CBD.
Right.
This is what we've personally experienced with CBD in our lives. Mm-hmm. The changes that we've experienced. Can you speak on some of those things that you've personally experienced, not just from a branding standpoint of utilizing your own product, but from a mental standpoint of the effects of taking the product?
Well, honestly, it's probably better that I talk about customers than myself. I mean, I use 100 milligrams of CBD oil every day, and for me, it works more for the inflammation and stuff, having 8 different surgeries. But when we first got started, we were able to sell smokable CBD. Mm-hmm. And I've got retired firefighters and police officers and stuff that, they can feel the anxiety coming on, and they were using marijuana. Just to get rid of it. And then they didn't feel like they could do anything for the rest of the day because, now they're high, now they're, they can't go out and drive their vehicle and stuff.
Right.
So they started using the smokable, and the first thing they said is, Jim, this is amazing. He said, I can feel it coming on, I can take a few hits off of this, and I can still get in my vehicle and go drive. And I'm like, that is awesome, for you to be able for it to calm you down, relax you, get through whatever it is you're going through, and function the rest of the day.
Right.
Well, then the state decided to take that away from us, and that's one of the things we push at the state is it's like, look, you're putting guys back in a bad situation because you're not allowing this.
Right.
At the farmers markets, I get, a lot of the other vendors tell me I should be a therapist because my booth ends up with all kinds of people around it telling me all of their stories all day long. And, I always, every weekend I end up with, 3, 4, 5 different people that stand there and cry to just because of how it's helped them, and it'll start off, the first weekend they'll be there and they'll be telling me about their problems and issues, and whether it's, family, health. I've got lots of customers that are dealing with different cancer things, but they get to talking about it and they say, okay, well, we'll try it. And, they come back the next weekend and they're like, this is helping us. We really believe this is helping us. And then by the end of the summer, they're advocates for CBD.
They're experiencing true life change.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think, and I'll say I'm an advocate for, real quality CBD products being one of those things that help with the anxieties and the mental health issues that we're experiencing, as far as getting those voices to be quiet. And like I said before, the other thing that I'm a strong advocate on now is going to talk to somebody. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to go talk to a therapist.
Right.
Those guys are trained. They're going to know what to say to you. But we need to break this stigma of men not talking. My wife and I have created this shirt that we're selling to bring awareness to men's mental health. And it just says men's mental health gets better when #men talk. And you got the mental in there. And we've got to break this stigma of you're no longer, you get your man card pulled if you're crying or you're emotional or something like that. And I can tell you, I've seen some of the biggest men in my life that have shed tears from the emotional baggage that they're carrying. And I'll be the first to tell you that I will sometimes cry daily because it's a good outlet. I truly believe that we're created to be emotional beings. We're all emotional beings, and we have unfortunately been raised in a society where you're not a man if you show emotions. And we need to break that. We need to get rid of that, because too many men are turning the lights off. Too many men are turning the lights off. We're leaving wives and children and moms and dads and brothers and sisters behind, and friends behind, when there's always someone out there that you're the reason that they are happy. When we get into that place where we can't, why am I here? We're always someone's world. It doesn't matter how bad the situation is. It doesn't matter if you have an ill relationship with your family or friends or whatever. Deep down inside, in the heart of hearts, there's that relationship that says, this is my person. And you're worthy and you're worth it and you deserve to be here and you are somebody in that. And that's really been my message, with mansmentalhealth.com. There's not been a platform where men can go and anonymously talk or even publicly talk about their feelings. I have loved getting involved with TikTok. At first I was like, I'm going to stay away from this thing. But I can tell you, the platform that has been developed from there, I had a single post. I just asked a simple question: what's the highlight of your day? And I was really hoping that I would just get a bunch of guys that could think positively for a moment. And, what was my highlight? 289 men commented on that post to begin with. And almost every single one of them was, I don't have one, or it was something negative. And after that post, I opened my eyes to men as a gender. We are broken. We're exhausted. We're tired. We're just plain flat out broken is the only word that comes to mind for me, and we need help. But we have to do it together.
Well, and that it is a stigma, but men are men.
Yeah. And
breaking that down to where a man is going to come talk to someone, especially someone they don't know, about feelings is going to be hard. And a little personal experience I had. I've got, when I was in my early 20s, I had a young kid, high schooler, junior high and high schooler living down the road, Jeremy, and he ended up staying at my house all the time. We had a little area that was a mud bog pit that we'd run trucks and four-wheelers through, and a hill climbing area, and he was always down there. And the kid could make a four-wheeler do some incredible things, but he helped all the time. No matter what I was doing, he was there to work and help. He, grew into an adult and joined the military, got back from there. He's married, got kids, and just a few years ago, I get a phone call that says, "Hey, Jeremy committed suicide." And it hit me with a ton of bricks. And it's, man, why didn't he talk to me? Why didn't he talk to someone? And he left whatever pain he was feeling. He doubled that on his kids and his wife. And that's where I think you can get men is, don't let, granted, you're going to hold stuff in. You're going to hold stuff your entire life. But don't let it get to the point where you think suicide is the answer.
Right.
Because at that point, now you're doing the opposite of what you want to do. You're hurting your friends and family.
Right.
And that's when you need to step out And, whether you reach out to a counselor, reach out to a friend or someone, like me, if he had called me up, dude, we would have went to the river. We would have went fishing, had a campfire, drank a couple beers, might have shared a couple words about what was going on, and that might have just been enough.
Right.
Just sitting there, poking sticks at the campfire. Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
But you got to reach out at that point.
Yeah.
You can't take that final step.
Well, and the thing that I hear the most is that men are like, well, they're just going to use it against me. And what I want to say to that is, if your wife or your significant other is using it against you, that's not someone you should probably be with. Because someone that is truly in your corner is never going to use that against you, whether it's your wife, your group of friends that you're spending time with, or your family members. That's not someone that needs to be in your circle.
Right.
And I will stand behind that 1,000-fold, because I can tell you from experience, I have a wife that has supported me through this, has never once used it against me, and those women exist out there. For the fellas that are saying, oh, well, she's just going to use it against me, then she needs to go.
Yep. That's
a toxic relationship, and that's not just her as a woman, that's just as our friends, as our family members. Because here's the thing, Jim and I know we stand firm on some of the same foundations that we believe in. We don't expect everyone to believe the way that we believe, but I will tell you that you don't have, you can still want what God wants for those people. You can still want them to be successful in life. Doesn't mean they have to be with you.
Right.
You don't have to be involved in that. You can still want them to have all the great things that God has for them in their life. They don't have to be at your table.
Right.
And I've had to learn that. I have both of my biological parents do not sit at my table. Neither one of them know my children. They don't get to have that, because that's part of my mental health journey from my childhood, that's a door that I've closed. And we need to learn as men to close those doors.
Yep.
But we need help with that. And that's why I've created this platform, mansmentalhealth.com, for people to have a platform to talk to, and it can be a safe environment. The guys that are on there that are speaking and telling their stories, they just want to be heard.
Well, and I was looking at your website the other day, and it is mansmentalhealth.com, not men's.
Right.
And so it's mansmentalhealth.com. And I found something that was pretty interesting on there that I like, because I am one of those guys. I'm not going to open up to people.
Right.
I hold it in until the end,
Right.
But you have one of the pages on there is for better,
Anonymous.
Yeah, for better words, anonymous.
Yeah.
And you can basically talk to you, I think,
Yep.
and put a comment in there, and nobody else needs to know, and you don't even have to put who it's from.
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk about that page. And
Yeah. So I knew that there are guys out there that are never going to post publicly. So I wanted to create a place for those guys. And what it is, it's just a page where you can type out everything that you're feeling, anything that you've got going on right now. I don't care if it's a woman and you don't feel like you have a place to go and type that out. If you don't want, just put in the headline women, I'll make sure my wife is the one reading it instead of myself. But as a man, having that place of being anonymous and not having anyone knowing who you are, there's no place you don't have to put your name if you don't want to. You don't have to put a connection point if you don't want to. I do have a way to email you back, because I can respond to it if I need to, if you want that. But it's something that sometimes putting pen to paper or fingers to keys and knowing that it's going somewhere and just writing it out, even if no one knows who it is, will take some weight off your shoulders. This is it's not going to be posted publicly or anything like that. It goes into a back folder that is emailed directly to me, that I'm the only one that sees that. And I'll be honest with you, I'll just be totally transparent with you. When I see those things come in, I think over those things and the pain that person's going through. And I'll be honest, I just pray. I pray that God breaks those chains of hurt in their life, anxiety and depression in their life. And that's just something that's between that person and myself at that point. If they want me to respond, I'll respond. If they don't want a response and they just want a place where they can just clear their mind, because that's the hard part, is sometimes we can find someone that will listen to us, but they want to talk too.
Right.
And sometimes we don't want people to talk.
Right.
Sometimes we just want people to listen.
Yep.
And that's it.
It's hard to find a listener.
It's hard to find a listener. And I would say I'm a pretty decent listener, But even then, I was raised to be able to show,
Problem solve.
well, not just problem solve. I was raised to identify and connect. And I do that best by connecting with a similar experience.
Right.
Sometimes that's not what we need.
Right.
Sometimes we just need to be quiet and be an ear that they can say a frustration or voice an opinion or something like that. My wife and I have this thing where either one of us can walk up to each other and say, hey, I need you to be my friend for a minute, and I need you to just let me vent. I don't need help. I just need to say something. And we can say whatever we want.
One of the stats you said earlier, I can't remember, it was 6 million men or something like that have, mental health issues or PTSD or something. But an interesting thought is it's probably double or triple that, because they only know the men that talk about it. There's at least double or triple that of men out there that are not saying anything, that are not included in that in ways. For me, ways that I get it out other than typing in a message is when I go hunting.
Yes.
I can sit in a tree stand, and one of the things, I'm not a go to church guy every Sunday kind of thing, but when I'm looking at the trees and nature and the beauty, I can see God in everything.
Right.
And that's where I can sit there and I can open up to myself and talk and get through things and focus that way. And that's one of my ways of dealing with things.
I love that, because you don't have to be, I'm going to say, I don't believe you have to be in a church to feel that. I think that void is already there, and you can see that all around. But one of the things that I love that Craig Rochelle says is asking for help is not weakness, it's wisdom. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And I've really hung on to that since I first heard that, because there's so much truth in that. Asking for help is not weakness, it's wisdom. We get to a place where we know we need help, but we're too proud to ask for it, because that's how we were raised. That's how society told us to be. When in reality, life is better together. Life is better in community. Whether that's your farming community, which your Treach Farms, or the CBD community. We have an incredible CBD community here with the Midwest Hemp Council has created for us here in the Midwest, or whatever you got your firefighter buddies still, whatever community you're a part of or you're in, or the things that you're attached to, you've got to find a way that helps cope somehow. Right. And that starts with talking. Yep. You have to find that person that you can talk to, or people that you can talk to. And if you don't have those people in your life, you need new friends. You need a new crowd to be around, because I don't want people in my circle that I don't feel comfortable having a conversation with and saying, "Hey, I'm struggling." I have a group of men in my life that I can text or call at any moment in time, and I know they're going to pick up and they're going to say, "What do you need?" Right. And they're going to drop what they're doing, and they're going to give me an ear, or they're going to come be by my side. Because I can tell you, sometimes my anxiety, especially traveling, that's really where I struggle the most, because that's when the situation happened. I was on the road. Yeah. So when I'm traveling, I know nothing is going to help me cope until I get some arms on me. Those, the oxytocin levels and serotonin levels need to be brought up. Sometimes I just need someone to touch, put their arms around me and say that it's going to be okay. Yep. And as men, that's really hard. And it doesn't matter what that comes from, whether that's from your kids, from your wife, your best mate, your dog. Right. It doesn't matter. Yep. All of those living creatures help create serotonin and oxytocin levels boost in your body. Yep. And that's really where the anxiety and depression and those thoughts, from a scientific standpoint come from. Those levels drop, and it just creates these monsters in your head. Right. And I'm so excited that we got together today to just talk about this and bring awareness. For me, I want to talk about some tips that we do to help with those things. For me specifically, I'm very much on meditation. I have 3 videos that I can put links to them at the end of this video. We can have those links put up for you. But I have 3 videos that I found on YouTube. There's a 5-minute one, a 10-minute one, and then there's a faith-based one that I use in the evenings. When I'm really struggling, I don't care what I've got going on. If I'm in my car, I pull over. If I'm working, I'll come and pick one of these couches to lay down. I don't care if I'm at church and I'm volunteering, I lay down on the pews. I don't care. I will put those on and I will just listen to them for a few minutes, and that will help. But I also know that when I'm getting to a point to where it's coming on fast and I don't know why, I immediately go to my wife or my daughters and I say, hey, I just need a hug. I need you to hold me for a second. And that for me is a coping. That's helping cope for me. That's not going to help everybody. I get that. Everybody's things are different.
Oh yeah.
But you have to find what works for you. That works for me.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And we are all wired different. You talked about the serotonin levels and stuff, and not to get all scientific and everything, but that's kind of what CBD does. You hear everybody talk about CBD attaching to the receptors, and CBD does not attach to the receptors. They actually block enzymes from eating the endocannabinoids that work for you. When you talk about anxiety medications, you talk about serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Right. That's basically what CBD does. So instead of using, a drug, you can use CBD to do the same thing, and that's how it works. For me, I used to meditate a lot. I haven't done that in many years, and I should probably get back to that. But
it's mind changing. It is.
It is. I remember, and why I stopped, I have no idea. But yeah, I used to meditate quite a bit, and should probably get back to that.
I just have a couple of videos that I use. I also, if you have any type of music platform, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, if you just type in anxiety sounds or music, there's all kinds of playlists that pop up that you can just throw on. It's just background, white noise, but it's calming music. I utilize that a lot.
Probably some of the stuff that I've used for going to sleep at night.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And I think that's, those are, I think, some really great tips and things that can help in the moment. But at the end of the day, the thing that I think is going to help the most is by talking. We have to find people to talk to. We've got to let our body needs, our mind needs our voices to be heard. And if you don't have those people in your life, I will be one of those people in your life. I'm willing to sit down and have a conversation with you. You can always direct message me through social media. You can go to mansmentalhealth.com and reach out. Whatever it needs to be. I want everyone that's listening today to know that you're not alone. You are worthy. You need to be here. You deserve to be here. And you are special to someone. Whether you believe that or not, you need to believe it now, because you are special to somebody, and you need to be here. People need you to be here. And so, I think, man, this is something that I've just become really passionate about over the last couple of years, and it's to the point where I'm even, starting to take a step back from rugged a little bit so I can focus more time on it and talk more about it, because there is a stigma, and we keep talking about somebody's got to make a change.
Yep.
I just decided that I'm going to start making a change, and that's what Man's Mental Health is. It's not about anything other than providing a platform for men to feel safe, to talk about what they need to talk about.
Yep. Yeah, and that's, and that can be used by anybody.
Yeah.
I go back to a lot of us, like you say, you got to have friends and family that you can talk to and trust and go with. And, a lot of us as friends, if you call us up and just say, hey, man, let's go to lunch, you don't even have to say anything if they know you. When you get there, you know, and it's not, it doesn't even have to be a cry on my shoulder kind of thing at that moment to get you what you need. It's just being there with someone that is willing to spend time with you, listen, you guys can enjoy the moment.
Yep.
And that helps.
Absolutely.
It helps me.
Well, it's like the UFC fighter, Patty Pimlet, said a couple months ago, I'd rather my friend cry on my shoulder than me have to carry his casket.
Absolutely.
And that's
where I think the website you got will help, because you get these guys like Jeremy that made the ultimate decision to end his life. And he didn't come to his friends. He didn't come to his family to talk. Maybe something like this, if he could have just, had a place to type in, man, I've got this, and this going on, and oh my God, and just blurt it out there somewhere, that might have been enough to help him. And, or maybe, he would have been willing to put a contact info back, and you could have replied to him and
Right.
struck up conversation go. So that's where, I believe something like mansmentalhealth.com can definitely step in and help with this
I agree.
situation.
And we're working on some relationships and partnerships too with some counseling centers, and that's something, the some of the profits, the proceeds from the hoodies that we're selling will go to an organization that provides counseling for people that can't afford it. But we're also working with another counseling center that is going to help provide some counseling. Because I'll tell you guys, I'm not a professional. Right. I'm not going to sit here and try to treat you. Yep. All I can, be there. I can be an ear, and I can, give my experience that I've experienced in my own mental health journey, and give you the tips and tricks that I've used to go from bedridden to a functioning person in society. So that's
when somebody goes to your website and they're searching for help, what are they going to find? I mean, how are they going to know what directions to go?
Yeah, so the main page there is it's simply a blog kind of type setup where you can introduce yourself if you want, why you're there. There's some other things that you can post, some more in-depth area where you can talk about. There's even an area where you can give other people tips and tricks that you've found that have helped you. So we're creating a resource. And then we have that page of being able to post anonymously as well. We're working on some other resources. We want to backlink some things to mental health foundation, and then Mental Health America and stuff like that. We want to backlink some of the things there and give people links, to like Revolt CBD to be able to reach out about, purchasing some CBD for themselves. Because a lot of times, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a snake oil person where I believe that it fixes everything. Right. I do know what it does for anxiety and mental health, and I do know what it can do. And I'm not a medication person. Right. So if I can find a more natural way to do that, I also produce some of that stuff here for you. And so I know exactly what's in it and the quality that it's coming from, because not all CBD is equal. Right. You got some people out there just trying to make a buck. Right. You got to get connected to the farmers that are making it.
Speaking of that, a couple years ago they done testing where they went out and pulled CBD products off the shelf, and 70% of the products did not have what they said they had. So getting the right product is right. The right brand or whatever. And I can tell you, I've got a couple different processors and manufacturers. They get testing done on the product, and then when I have it packaged into the individual packages, I have it tested again. So it's not only third-party tested, it's third-party tested twice.
Right.
So I know, what we're providing.
Yeah, and I think Jim would agree that even if you don't go with Revolt, don't purchase something that doesn't have third-party testing. Right. You want to make sure that third-party is testing.
And if you need help reading a COA on it, a certificate of analysis is what they're called, call me up. I don't care if you're using somebody else's product, but I can read the COAs, and they are kind of difficult. They
can be confusing, yeah.
So, to somebody that doesn't understand them, I'll help you understand exactly what's in there.
Yeah. So. Well, I appreciate your time driving all the way down here from Cicero and, taking the time to just bring some awareness to World Mental Health Day. And, for everybody that's listening and watching, we really appreciate your guys' support for our businesses that we're doing. But, it's not about our businesses. It's about bringing awareness to something that is killing our society, and it's crushing us. And the number just keeps getting higher and higher, and it's going to keep getting higher and higher until we do something about it. And I think this could be a first step to doing something about it. We just have to talk. Men have to talk. Women have to talk too. Right. We got to talk, but women are better at it than men. So, men talk, we'll stick with that hashtag men talk.
I like it.
And again, if you want access to Revolt CBD, how can they find you?
RevoltCBDProducts.com.
Okay.
And or you can just Google search Revolt CBD and it'll pop us up. And we are going to, for the rest of the month of October, we're going to, I guess, add a link or something in here to where you'll have a coupon code that will give you a percentage off of products, but a matching percent will go to one of our, places that you was talking about, the mental health or the mental health places here. The local one in Indiana is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, so. Cabin counseling.
Counseling, yep.
Yeah.
So
they provide counseling for people that can't otherwise afford it. So I appreciate that. I love that. We'll link that there on mansmentalhealth.com. We'll also make a link to the hoodie for Men Talk. That'll be on there for Rugged Company as well. So again, thank you guys so much for supporting us and for listening. It's something that we're both passionate about, and I hope that you're passionate about as well. If you have people in your life, or if you're experiencing mental health issues, from anxiety, depression, to anything that is going on inside and you just don't feel right, please reach out. Don't hesitate to talk, and just know that you're loved, you're worthy, and you are special to somebody. So enjoy your day, and thanks for listening.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one.